Shout out to Usco.
Yeah.
But before that, we have Blood and Guts. Look at that. My cat is freaking out outside.
Wow.
Yeah. My dog's going to probably freak out, so maybe we'll have to stop filming for a second. Welcome everybody to the Ring Generals Podcast UFC Show special. My name is Nick Nina, and alongside me is Jesse.
What's up, guys?
And of course, Easy E, Eric Santos.
Cooking, guys.
We have a lot on the docket today. We are going to put a little bit of pro wrestling into this podcast at the very end. Of course, AEW Revolution, their first pay-per-view of 2020 happened this past weekend. So we're going to give our quick thoughts on that at the end of this podcast. But most of this is going to be about MMA and specifically UFC 248. We will, of course, dive into Israel Adesanya versus Yoel Romero for the middleweight championship. We will dive into Joanna versus Weili, Zhang. Big strawweight women's title fight, and the rest of the card is pretty good, including the return of Sean O'Malley after a battle with USADA. But we want to actually start the podcast with something that happened last weekend, and that is the flyweight title situation. We still don't have a flyweight title champion. Unfortunately, some
Triple C.
Yeah,
Triple C's coming in.
Yeah, well, Triple C technically is still Triple C, although
He defended the belt without even lifting a finger.
it's a
know,
genius.
right?
He really is the best
The GOAT.
MMA fighter in the world.
Damn it.
Yeah, but so obviously we had the issue of, say his name correctly for me because I have no idea how to say his name, the man that won this fight.
Deiveson Figueiredo.
Figueiredo, okay. I'm going to say Figueiredo like 15 times on this
Just
podcast.
say Fig.
Yeah. So Fig won the title, or actually won the fight, didn't win the title because he was 2 pounds overweight, really lazy on his part, and of course Joseph Benavidez, who's somewhat fan favorite, at least in the flyweight division, puts on a bad performance and loses, and now the entire division is in flux. Guys, what are our thoughts on this? What really is next for the flyweight division?
Well, some say it's time to shut down the flyweight division. I mean, let's be honest. There's no champion in that division anymore. Not since TJ Dillashaw. Not TJ. DJ Mighty Mouse Johnson and Henry Cejudo, the only two champs in that history of that division. And since Cejudo vacated that flyweight belt for the bantamweight belt, and nobody really stepped up to the plate, and these two were supposed to make that fight, make this a really exciting fight, which it was. To be honest, the first 2 rounds were exciting up to the very end, and but the sad thing is, Deiveson Figueiredo was kind of unprofessional, if not unprofessional, for not making that weight. I mean, there's going to be a lot of excuses from his behalf for sure. I mean, he said it. He's declared himself as the champion of the flyweight division, but you can't declare yourself as a flyweight champion if you don't make the weight and have the belt. So don't call yourself a champion unless you have that weight and belt. And sadly for Benavidez, I mean, he's coming to his limelight of a career. I mean, he's got a phenomenal career. He's got nothing else to prove. He's been in the top 5 for 10 plus years. I mean, he's a veteran of this game, and I mean, I hate to see him leave as, retired and not being a champion. And he's one of those he's one of those fighters that have gone 3-0 for challenging that for those titles. And the first 2 were against Mighty Mouse Johnson, and the third one is in this bout. So I mean, is it the end for him? Possibly. We don't know. We'll see soon.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned unprofessional from
Deiveson Figueiredo
from Fig, and he, him claiming him being champion is not fair because if I was fighting a flyweight title fight and I came in at 160 and won the fight, it's essentially the same thing because he was overweight, right? If you're overweight, you're overweight because that means he's coming in at like 140, 145 by the time the fight starts, right? Yeah. So like, it's a big difference. He's coming in as a featherweight at that point because he's so overweight, and so. Personally, I agree with you. I think they should just do away with the flyweight division. This was like a fitting end because all we really anybody wants to see is probably a rematch. If you can even say people want to see that, or Cejudo defend the title versus anybody. I think the only fight that possibly could save this division is if
versus Figueiredo.
Well, figure that, or if you somehow find a way to get back to Demetrius Johnson and you have a Cejudo Johnson fight. That's not realistic. No. But I'm just saying that's the only way you could. So that's what I'm saying. It probably needs to be gone
Yep.
If not, I think you have a situation where you give a rematch to Joseph Benavidez. If he wins, maybe the division can be held up a little bit, but if not, at that point we have a champion that nobody knows. And I don't even know the name of
that division has slim pickings, to be honest. And
awful.
It doesn't really have how should I say?
It's like the AEW women's division. That's
basically you could probably say that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's not as exciting as it once was before, because DJ, I know a lot of people hate DJs for his style, but he actually had finished fights, and I mean it's not his fault that challengers weren't that great stepping up to him. So I mean DJ is a legend of the damn sport for sure, of the damn division. He's
right.
And then Cejudo came along after the first loss to DJ and kind of closed that gap within like a year and a half, I believe, and then won by split decision. I mean, it could have gone either way in that fight. And I mean, I love to see Cejudo versus DJ again, but it's not going to happen because DJ reiterated that he doesn't want to fight in the American promotions anymore. He wants to rather stay in the Asian promotion, and one championship is paying that good amount of money, more than UFC is doing right now.
Yeah, and that's a big thing, obviously. But if UFC doesn't pay that well, and I guess if you were to have a super fight, you necessarily would have to shell him over enough money. But if he's already making it in one championship, it doesn't need to do that. Eric, what's your opinion on the flyweight division?
Man, I think you put it best, Jesse. It does feel dead. It does feel like a desert in a way, where it comes down to competition. A lot of people think that the competition in the flyweight division, there isn't anything like star power.
Mm-mm.
That's the problem. I think that's what they're looking for in terms of when you're in the UFC. You got to look for that star power. Cejudo might be the only guy, but who else could be there?
I mean, you kind of look at Benavidez, and it's just his name alone was star power enough, but not enough.
It wasn't enough, yeah, and that's the problem with Benavidez and Figueiredo. Yeah, and I do get the fact that he didn't make weight, which is probably like the most unforgiven sin that can be committed in the UFC. And when you don't make weight, it does look bad on a lot of fighters. And with Cejudo, with him and DJ, Demetrius Johnson, that could probably kind of save the division, but I don't see that happening. I think the best way for the UFC to do with the flyweight division is just
merge it to the bantamweight.
Bantamweight is going to have to be the better solution for that. I was going to say go away, but I think merge is probably the better term to be used.
I mean, they could cut some of the fighters left and right, but I mean they have before, when it was being claimed that UFC was about to cut the flyweight division, and then until Cejudo stepped in and saved the division, and now since Cejudo's gone, I mean there's potential that he might come back down, but I mean he wants to stay up in the bantamweight division and eventually challenge Volkanovski should he become victorious over Max Holloway, and he would want to challenge for that title as well. I mean, Cejudo versus Volkanovski, it's unbelievable.
I mean, even when you look at, even if you were to merge, what's crazy is you merge the flyweight and bantamweight division. I was just looking.
Yeah.
The top, 9 guys would still be at the top that are in the bantamweight division. It's not. Maybe you put the champ Figueiredo up in there as a legitimate challenger, and maybe he can challenge for the bantamweight title after Cejudo more than likely gets through Jose Aldo. But I mean, at this point, I think it just needs to go away. I don't think, just merge it, right? Because I was just going through the names. Here are the names, and you as either a hardcore UFC fan or a casual UFC fan, or maybe you're a pro wrestling fan watching this. Listen to some of these names, besides the 2 guys we just mentioned, and you tell me if there's any chance this division can last. And I'm going to butcher every single one of these names, probably too. Jussier Formiga, Alexandra Pantoja, Brandon Moreno, Oscar Askarov, Kai Kara France. I mean, most people have never heard of any of these guys, at least in these other divisions.
Jussier Formiga is pretty formidable, but I mean, he's not that.
Just the name.
The name let alone.
He's only a top 5 guy. I mean, like I said, I mean, some of these guys in the flyweight division don't have that star name, don't have that should I say, that great record that everybody's kind of looking for, you know?
Right.
And, I mean, you can build him up, but there's only to a certain point till you build him up, and then should that person lose, he's going to be psychologically kind of crumbling from the inside and just kind of go downhill from there. So it's not.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason this flyweight title fight was happening on an ESPN Plus
Fight
show.
night, yeah.
You know, and it still didn't draw. Right? I didn't even. Now, the problem was there was a wrestling pay-per-view on, so I tuned into that. But to be honest, I mean, I didn't really have much interest. It was more of, who was going to win the fight? We'll talk about it after.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it was more like, hopefully Benavidez wins it. So there's the chance that we have, you know, the division kind of stay alive. Now, and then you had the weight change and all that stuff. So,
Same thing.
Yeah,
with
not
me.
wake up.
Like, same thing. I was, like, you know, going back and forth with the pay-per-view of the pro wrestling show that we're probably going to talk about later, and with Fight Night. Yeah, it was really hard to gel with it. It was just more about, like, what's more interesting, because I know the other names for what's going on in the other promotion, like as far as wrestling goes, versus what's going on ESPN Plus.
And that, I mean, look, we also had that horrible doctor stoppage. I mean, that alone was in shambles. I mean, who in the hell stops a fight in the middle of somebody swinging? You know, that guy. I mean, if you look at that fight closely, you could tell that guy was baiting him to go in swinging, and then so he could counterattack. I mean, a lot of people have different opinions on that fight, but I mean, we could all agree that stoppage was horrible.
It was bad.
Yes.
I think the only thing I'm going to say about it is that you have to kind of, somehow the ref has to, I know the referee probably has to know during the fight, but it sure did look like he was out on his feet, like Michael Bisping said. Mm-hmm. And it's hard for a referee, you know, especially, to be honest, especially after what happened at the beginning of the fight, where there was a confrontation, which you very rarely see in UFC. I think...
you have seen it in Bellator with James Gallagher and, what's this guy, Ricky Pindoja.
Yeah, well, the Bellator at times can be the Wild West.
Right, yeah.
I mean, they let Jake Hager get in the ring at that point.
So they'll blow him, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But
anyways.
I think to defend the referee here and play devil's advocate, I believe that it was already on edge.
Yeah.
Right? And at that point, you don't want the fight to keep going. You don't want there to be any more controversies. So I wasn't as stern on the stopping. I thought it was ridiculous when I first saw it, but then when I heard his explanation about how he was faking being out on his feet, at that point I'm like 50-50 on it, and it's like, okay, maybe just, you know, that guy doesn't lose any in the rankings, and he just, you know, he keeps on going, and there's nothing, the loss is not really a loss, and essentially like the fight's just a neutral, no contest, because that's what it was. It was a no contest, unless he's just lying and he was out on his feet, which I would do every single time. Right. I was good, you know.
Right, I was there. I was in the fight.
Yeah, I know.
No, exactly. So there you go. That was UFC Fight Night. Prior, the flyweight division. We'll see what happens there. Maybe Cejudo can save it. Maybe we'll see a rematch between Benavidez and Figueiredo. We will see. Let's move on to a legitimate pay-per-view main event card here. UFC 248, the first UFC pay-per-view since John Jones almost or did lose to Dominic Reyes. We have, of course, Israel Adesanya versus Yoel Romero, the Soldier of God.
Wow.
Amazing.
Jesus.
Zhang Weili, of course, a dominant women's champion, one of the top women's fighters in all of MMA, versus Joanna Jedrzejczyk, who used to be one of the top and one of the best. She's turned into an Instagram model now. Yeah. Good
Surprise.
for her. Probably will make money. But
funny thing that you brought that up, because ever since she started posting her bikini pics on Instagram, she started losing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that.
Do you know who else? Yeah, well, it's a trend that I like to bring up here in MMA, is that when the women get more female on their social media, when they start to show their assets, they start to, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna say, when they're in dresses, his arm keeps breaking because of how many bikini pictures she posts. Yeah. It's amazing. I've never seen anything like it in the world.
It's never happened before.
Yeah.
Nick's getting excited.
For some reason, Kendall Jenner can post any pictures and her arm doesn't break. It's amazing. But no, Joanna's kind of come into, I think she's realizing that maybe her MMA career is
coming to
well, it's in the twilight. Like, it's not. I think she could still be a legitimate fighter, but I think she realizes she needs to look to the future, and there's nothing wrong with that. All I'm saying is, when you're fighting a killer like saying Weili, you got a problem. Joanna is a former champion. She knows how to fight in a 5-round fight, so you're going to give her a chance. This is not like Shevchenko's last fight where her opponent is walking around in a dress all the time and then gets just destroyed and has essentially no offense. This will be a closer fight, I believe, than that one. But still, looking at it, I don't know why we just decided to predict the fight right away right there.
Yeah,
but
we just did.
Nonetheless, that's the fight. We also have Neil Magny on this card versus Li Jingliang, who I believe is very, very underrated. I'm super excited to see this man fight, especially against a guy like Neil Magny. Max Griffin, Alex Oliveira on this card, and of course I mentioned earlier, Sean O'Malley with a return to UFC after battling drug test issues.
USADA.
Yeah. So it's going to be a good card. The main event itself, much like McGregor and Cerrone, would make me want to buy this fight. I think this is going to be one of the best fights of the year. Yoel Romero seems to just be able to take...
He could take punishment.
He can take punishment, and it just doesn't phase him. And he's in his 40s, and he's doing backflips in the press conference.
Dancing, man.
Israel Adesanya is a budding star. I would say top 3 most famous fighters right now in the world, probably.
I think he's overtaking Conor McGregor in that star power.
A little bit. I have to disagree with that a little bit, only because of what if Conor McGregor hadn't won his last fight, especially the way he did, I would say, but I think Israel, especially with this budding rivalry with John Jones, the dismantling of Robert Whittaker, his fantastic fight against Kelvin Gastelum, I think this guy, and he's going to have another one this Saturday. We're excited. So let's go back to this. We're not going to predict any of the other fights. We're going to just predict the championship fights, the co-main event and the main event. Let's go back to the women's fight really quickly before we go over Romero and Adesanya, because I think that's a little closer of a fight. Yeah. How does Joanna win this fight? Because she's definitely the underdog. Zhang Weili, I feel like could legitimately battle with the Shevchenkos and the Nunezes. Joanna, I would not say that right now.
In her state,
So one of you guys, how does she win this fight?
I mean, if I was Joanna and I had to choose, I'm gonna have to backpedal Zhang. I have to push her to her limits and also kind of smother her, not give her the extra space and unload the combinations and drift away from those heavy hitters. Because we all know Zhang comes with those heavy hitters and those knee clinches, you're done. There's no way getting out. As soon as you take that punishment, you're not going to last. Look what happened to, what's her name recently?
Jessica
Andrade.
Jessica Andrade. And, it didn't turn out so well for her in her first title defense. And she just blitzed. Zhang blitzed her. Okay? She dismantled her.
42 seconds.
Just completely
dominated. She burst onto the scene and became the first Chinese champion. We never expected that. And she made history. Korean Zombie wanted to be the first one, but Zhang obviously
beat her.
Yeah, beat her to a point. So but obviously Zhang is very, very powerful, and she's going to be hard to overcome. And for Joanna to go up against her, he's going to have to unload combinations, smother her, take her down, and if she finds that opening, take it, and then if not, fight for dear life and submit her. You're going to have to murder her.
Eric, how do you see, how does Joanna win this fight?
The only way to do it is just to try to corner Zhang, but the thing is with Zhang is that she works well under pressure. Her elbow strikes are the ones that are going to help her out and completely dismantle Joanna. Joanna, it looks like after her last fights that she's had, I know that she did, was it Tisha Torres? Tisha Torres, yeah. She did win, but her last fights with Namajunas were completely, I think, in my mind, kind of like tainted her performance. And looking at it, Joanna, she hasn't been the same. Sure, she's been battling some, problems with her ex-husband. She's had problems with
fiance.
Or fiance. It's a good point.
Fiance.
Yeah.
So
weight cutting issues.
She's had that problem in the past. she said that she's she's been working on trying to cut the toxic people out, and she's been trying to work on her boxing because she knows that the style that Zhang has been using is like Chinese boxing, is a whole different kind of martial arts that we are known for here in America. For them, it's for them it's like rooted. Like this should be something that for them it's for them to be familiar with. Zhang just comes from a really not a diet, but more like a background that is more strict and more fast. I've seen her train, and she's like making those combination strikes a lot quicker, and her head kicks look pretty nasty.
She makes it look easy.
It makes it look easy. Zhang, I just see her more coming out on top. I see her more of the more rapid and hungrier person that she is.
But, like you guys mentioned, if someone gets punched hard enough in the face a couple times, then all those instincts kind of go away. I know it's fighting, but still, you take a couple hits. I mean, we look at the boxing match between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. You can blame your costume all you want and all that stuff, but realistically, Tyson Fury knocked Deontay Wilder's equilibrium off. That's at least what I think. That's what most rational people think happened in this fight. And so you can't do anything about that at that point. I'm not saying Joanna has to go try to knock her equilibrium off, but if you go and attack her, you win round 1. She's beat up. You go attack her, you win round. It's not as hard because Joanna is not. She's an underdog, but she's the best type underdog because she's done it before. Yeah. She's won. And I hope her mindset is on MMA because it's hard unless you're a Conor McGregor or a John Jones, these superstars, to really, once you kind of get your mind off of it, it's tough, right? You can't come back from it a lot of times. So I do agree with you guys. I think the attacking style is Joanna's chance to win this fight. And I actually, like, when you go look at betting on this fight, right? There's the chance maybe Zhang, this is going to be her first title defense, right? Maybe she's not 100% ready for the glitz and the glamour and stuff like that. It's a little different when you're the underdog or the non-champion going into a championship fight because you have a chip on your shoulder. So maybe there's that too. And I think with a former champ like Joanna, it is going to be really, really interesting.
There is one thing that I do want to bring up. And Joanna, she did post something about on her Instagram, and and this is actually going to have to go. What's going on in the world right now? There was a poster.
Affecting the world.
There was a poster on her Instagram that Joanna put. It had Joanna in a gas mask and
a suit,
like a hazmat suit, and it had her up against Zhang. And she looks like she was trying to get into the head of Zhang about this
whole playing those mind games
coronavirus outbreak.
Yeah.
Well, backlash.
So. Here's the thing. Has Zhang been training in China this time? Obviously, she doesn't have the coronavirus.
She moved her training camp somewhere else.
It's been difficult for her to move back and forth.
No, and obviously we've seen a couple guys on this, a couple people on this card say some sketchy things in the last couple weeks, but it's a thing. Whenever you hear the word China lately, you're thinking of Corona. You're thinking stay away, not in a racial sense, but a literal sense of like we don't want anybody to spread the disease toward us. So it is interesting that Joanna would go to those lengths. I don't think that's the way this fight's going to be. That stuff doesn't matter.
It's not her style. It wasn't never.
She apologized later. I'm not sure if she took it down or it might be there. I'm pretty sure she took it down.
I'm pretty sure she took it down.
Yeah. She did. I'm looking at it right now.
She had a backlash. And, some stuff from Zhang's camp and also Zhang herself said, "I'm gonna murk her. I'm gonna finish her."
Well, that could be a good advantage for her.
The thing is that she uses that as a chip on the shoulder, but also as a motivation to finish Joanna. So I mean, we'll see how this thing plays out and how it goes. And I mean, who knows how it'll turn out to be?
It's gonna be interesting. Yeah. I think if Zhang can if Zhang can get Joanna on backwards, I think it's first round. I think it's first round.
The thing is that Joanna's been in 5-round war. This is the first time we're ever going to see Zhang going to be in the 5 rounds. I mean, we never seen him go past.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, there's
a possibility. Her cardio, basically overall conditioning, I mean, we'll see how long, how deep in the water she can last.
I mean, we doubted a guy like Dominic Reyes, who's never been in five round football.
Yeah, but he was a high school wrestler, football player.
That. So there's that. But for Zhang, I'm pretty sure right now they're doing everything they can to pressure her.
He was team captain of of his team for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean
that makes sense.
Former football player as well, failed football player, of course. But here's another thing too interesting. I remember we had a podcast a month ago, 2 months ago about the women's division in MMA. When you look at the strawweight division, though, it's a damn good division. Like the potentially after this fight, okay, what we're looking at is potentially if Zhang wins, Rose Namajunas versus Zhang Weili, which is a legitimate fight.
It is a legitimate
with
fight.
Rose with the right mindset.
Yeah, that's what I'm
because by the way, I attribute her that pseudo retirement that she could, that pseudo retirement speech, to just being having been slammed in the head. She was dropped on her head during that fight.
It was more of a psychological thing. I mean, it plays a lot into people's lives. People are going to either going to think it's an excuse, but it's actually going to be more of a psychological thing, and it's going to be always going to be personal at the end of the day.
Yeah, like it's almost like you can't once you feel defeated, you can't give like a good response because you don't know if that's going to happen again, and you don't want to give like an answer, like a full solid answer, like a yes or a no. So for Rose, she would have to have a good mindset in order to go up against Zhang or Joanna if they want to pick up that fight again.
Ooh, third bout?
Yeah.
Well, she lost twice. Joanna lost twice.
But isn't that funny that Joanna would be the champion coming to the fight? That's so crazy.
Anything can happen. If you've seen Tito Ortiz fight Chuck Liddell for the third time.
Man.
And Chuck Liddell beat Tito Ortiz twice before in this fight. Golden Boy Promotions is a crap promotion.
And hey,
but good boxing promotion.
And Tito Ortiz is training at the WPC, so we'll be seeing Chuck Liddell versus Tito Ortiz, Saudi Arabia, Crown Jewel.
Yeah.
It can't get any worse than Crown Jewel, can it? Okay, so I love how during that conversation I was waiting the entire time to make a coronavirus joke, and Eric's like, Joanna, it's unfortunate she made that today. I'm like, damn it, man.
I didn't know about that.
I know, of course, that's why I was keeping it secret. But okay, let's keep it serious. Israel Adesanya versus Yoel Romero. This is a dream fight in some ways because of what Israel has become in MMA. I really don't know what's going to happen in this fight because these guys throw random punches, feet come out of nowhere. And they can both take a hit. We've seen Israel in his war with Kelvin Gastelum, one of the best fights I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Withstand some crazy shots, and there was times where I thought he was absolutely going to lose that fight. Against Robert Whittaker, he took a lot of shots in that fight. So this is going to be really interesting. And then we saw it live. Him and Paulo Costa.
And Anaheim.
And they were debatable that he actually won that fight. And Paulo Costa would be fighting this fight if he wasn't injured.
He tore his biceps, so
yeah. So it's
he could be out for like 8-9 months.
No, exactly. So Yoel was next in turn, and when you have that close of a fight, we just saw it with Aldo getting the title fight against Cejudo. I absolutely thought he won his fight against Marlon Moraes. Yeah. So give him the title shot, whatever. No big deal. I'll break this down first. I think it's obviously an advantage of Israel Adesanya only because Romero has a tendency to eat too many shots. And although he doesn't get knocked out necessarily, the points add up on him. And I think when you're a referee, as long as the refereeing is good, I hope it is good this weekend.
Not just the referee, the judging.
Oh, yeah, the judges.
That's what I meant. Excuse me. Yeah, I meant the judging. But I think you have to look at it like, okay, even though Yoel can take these shots and looks like he's okay, you have to give the points to Israel, or this fight, you'll have no winner. Because it won't look like Yoel got beat. And it will look like Israel didn't get beat either, but
it's going to be a lot of bias.
Yeah, but it's going to be amazing regardless, and potentially with the women's fight going short and right before it, I think you hope.
You really think so?
You hope. No, I'm saying I think Zhang potentially could knock her out in the first round like she did Jessica Andrade. Think about it. Jessica Andrade beat Rose Namajunas, and Zhang killed her. right? So you have to look at that. Joanna, I think, is actually a less fighter than Jessica Andrade is. But enough about that fight. But going back to the main event, I have to give a slight edge to Israel Adesanya, but I 100% could see Yoel knock out Adesanya.
Oh, it's a close fight.
It's stylistically, it's basically a power puncher versus a striker, and look, Yoel Romero is so damn unpredictable. He throws those haymakers and also those flying knees out of nowhere. He doesn't really telegraph it. He doesn't really if you look at his past fights and you notice the way he fights, and especially the different times he's just really explosive, which is Adesanya. Adesanya isn't that explosive. He's more of an accurate throwing punch, a couple punches and combinations, and then backs out. And it's to be all flashy, which is pretty fun to watch. And but you can't do that with Yoel Romero. You can't throw those flashy kicks. You gotta be on the verge of lookout, because those punches ain't gonna be coming from nowhere. They're gonna be coming straight at him with 100% accuracy, and it's gonna be punishment. Let's hope he could take that punishment from Yoel Romero, because that guy doesn't hit like a teddy bear. He hits like a damn rock.
I know.
Yeah. I was just looking at it. I was reminding myself of Romero's last couple fights, and I got nightmares. Eric, what's your thoughts on this? What do you think initial analysis on the fight?
Romero's he's a rock. He's durable. The man can take punches. We saw it live. We saw it with him and Whitaker. And Whitaker lost to Adesanya. Those two guys fought each other twice. Romero is one of those guys that you need to watch out for his flying knees. Like you said, Jesse, and I've seen his flying knees. They're devastating. He said in an interview that he doesn't see himself retired till 51. He wants to surpass Bernard Hopkins. He wants to surpass that. He doesn't see himself slowing down or aging at all. He says that I'll still beat up guys like 25 or 26-year-olds. Mm-hmm. I'll beat them up. Adesanya, on the other hand, a great striker, star power. I see it. He proved it with Gaslam. Fun fact about Gaslam, he actually trained here in Mission Viejo.
Yeah.
That's
cool. MMT.
MMT. So,
shout out to MMT.
There you go.
If you're here in the Mission Viejo area, go check them out. No, actually, no, I think it's Laguna Niguel. But anyways, if you're here in this area of OC, check them out. Great group of guys. Mm-hmm. If you want to learn from the best, you learn from them.
I've heard many good things about them from multiple people.
Yeah, and Gaslam trained there to go up against Adesanya. Fortunately, Adesanya was just the better man in that one.
Amazing fight.
Yeah.
Nothing to take away from Gaslam.
Yeah. Adesanya beating Whitaker, that's also another one that surprised me, because I was also a big fan of Whitaker. Adesanya beating him, although I'm still a fan of Whitaker. Adesanya just proving everybody wrong on the second round, made his nose bleed.
Busted him up.
Adesanya, there is no guy like Adesanya for him. He doesn't need to challenge
John Jones.
No, he doesn't need to challenge Yoel Romero.
No, the thing is
nobodybody's done that.
Well, yeah,
everyone's afraid of challenging him. Even Darren Till's afraid of
challenging him. Adesanya's a badass.
I know.
It really is, man. Adesanya is calling out John Jones. He's calling out Yoel. His cornermen are calling out Stipe. It's amazing. It really, truly is.
It's that overflow of confidence, and that's great. But
that's where I feel a little bit in the air. Yoel might destroy him in the second or third round.
It just depends. You just can't look past Yoel Romero right now. Because right now, Yoel Romero is a scary monster. He's gone through wars.
He's a freak of nature.
Yeah, he's freakishly athletic. He's Cuba's best wrestler.
Olympic,
all-time wrestler for
the Olympics,
for Cuba.
Yeah.
And look at the athletes in Cuba. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
He doesn't even wrestle as much in the octagon. If you notice that, he doesn't even need to wrestle.
He concentrates mostly on boxing.
Boxing, yeah. And for a guy like Adesanya, he would have to counter just in case if he wants to take him down.
Adesanya's got a good wrestling coach. Yeah. He was I think it was Ohio State, I believe.
I think it might be Ohio State.
He's got a great wrestling coach, and those guys ain't. If you look at their team right now, those guys came from underdogs to basically favorites right now. Yeah. So it's basically almost like becoming a super gym right away, just blasting right away and bursting into the scene. And look, you can't count those guys out. Kiwis are strong other guys.
Oh yeah.
With this, now that whoever wins this match is going to go up against Paulo Costa, right?
Yeah. Oh, should Paulo Costa recover in time?
After
but if not, it's going to be, I think it was Edmund. Who's the...
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because Darren Till challenged him when he was injured.
I'll look
Right.
up.
Oh yeah, of course he's going to challenge him.
But anyways, our friend Nick, he's going to check out who it is. But
but with Romero, man, it's just it's a close call. The thing that can happen is that he can just blitz him, just like what he did to Costa.
Yeah.
You know, when it exploded into that just slugfest. I can see that happening with Adesanya and Romero. Adesanya. Yeah.
Can you imagine? We're not saying that Israel's going to lose, but if you imagine Yoel Romero winning this fight and then Paulo Costa's next, we could probably see a second fight between Paulo Costa and Yoel Romero in a 5-round war. If not, it might go 3 rounds, but it could go in 5 rounds. It just depends. I mean, it's just there's a lot of possibilities right now in the middleweight
division. Yeah.
So it's a lot of star power, a lot of great fights to make, and hopefully,
we need some of these guys in flyweight. That's what
I know. Yeah.
No, not flyweight. I mean, if they can make that way. I mean,
I'm joking, but it's like the welterweight division is just so right above it too. Okay, so here are the God man. Even the top 10. In middleweight. So you have Israel's champion and you have Yoel, right? Yeah. Yoel's technically number 3 contender, but Whitaker is helping his daughter right now, and Paulo Costa is injured and on the shelf for a while. Mm-hmm. So there's Jared Cannonier, who just got hurt.
That's him.
He was supposed to be the stand-in, but he got hurt for this fight. So he was just in case Romero misses weight, which he did against Robert Whitaker by 0.2 pounds. But you know what's funny is Darren Till actually is next in line technically for a title shot based on this. You have Jack Hermanson, Calvin Gastelum.
Jack Hermanson also wants to fight Gastelum, which is pretty interesting too.
Well, they should. They should. Technically, they should.
Why not?
And you have Derek Brunson, Edmund Shabazian. I mean, come on, man. That's number 9.
There's a lot. Okay, there's a lot of possibilities in this weight division alone. So, I mean, there's like a lot of star power in this division. Right now it's an exciting time to be an MMA fan, even if you're a diehard MMA fan or a casual. Right now is the perfect time to be a fan. If not, be a professional about it. I mean, if you want to go through it, go through it. I mean, go to any gym that provides that kind of skill set and give you that skill set and just go for it. I mean...
Okay, yeah, no, for sure. Absolutely. It's exciting talking about these fights, too, and this is just one card, right? Okay, so let's go over it really quickly.
It's kind of a heart pump.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like...
Goosebumps already.
Yeah. Where's the TV? I want to watch the fight. Okay, but so let's go. Let's go real quick. The predictions on the 2 championship fights. Let's start with the women. Just a prediction. Nothing. Don't extend on it too much. We're a little bit low on time, but... Jesse, what is your prediction for Joanna versus Zhang?
I mean, obviously Zhang. I mean, she's a favorite in this fight, and I'm just gonna say by knockout.
Any round?
Round 3. I mean, at most.
I'm going with Zhang on the 3rd round, and I'm just gonna end up in a knockout. Yeah.
I'm gonna go Zhang in 1. I think she attacks her like she did Jessica Andrade and sets up what I believe will be a awesome fight with Rose Namajunas, who I hope wins the fight in UFC 249. But yeah, so I'm gonna go Zhang knockout in round number 1. Okay. All right, Adesanya, Romero. I'll start with mine. Romero in the 4th. New champ.
Shit. Oh, damn.
Romero in the 4th. Knockout.
You go, Jesse.
Fuck, man. I mean, I love these guys both to death.
I love these guys too.
But I mean, obviously, I'm gonna go with the champ right now, Adesanya. He's on a good momentum right now. He's going through guys and burst into the scene. So I mean, Izzy's gonna go. I mean, I was just gonna say all 5 rounds.
Makes sense.
Man, this is gonna be.
You got split or
a unanimous?
Okay,
unanimous. I don't see Adesanya knockout, but I am gonna go for Izzy. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go decision because you can't knock out Yoel Romero.
I mean, he's
Yeah,
so
he's
damn
just durable.
durable.
Okay, and to that point, because none of us said a Yoel Romero is going to get knocked out. There's no TKO win for Israel Adesanya. Looking back at his record, the only time in his entire career,
I think it was the beginning of his career.
he's been knocked out prior to has been knocked out at all, and has a fight ended before the third round or the fifth round. Was against Rafael Cavalcante at Strikeforce in 2011.
Ooh, that was a long time ago.
10
Yeah.
years ago, yeah.
So that was only his fifth
Fifth.
professional fight.
And he was on a 4-win streak, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and then even looking at his last two fights, his last two losses, split decision with
yeah.
Whitaker. I remember we watched that together. It was one of the best fights we ever watched. I thought Romero could have won it. In that fight too, and then of course Paulo Costa did the same exact thing. Although it was unanimous decision, I personally thought Romero. You could have said he won that fight too.
That was exciting.
I was too drunk. So.
He's gone.
I couldn't confident. I had to watch the replay after.
I had to carry him out.
For that fight though, I actually chose Costa.
Costa, yeah. I remember you did message me about that.
Because I was like, oh man, it's a pretty tough fight. But if I had to choose for a little bit more of a conditioning, I would go with Costa.
Dude,
and that came out right. I mean. Look, man, some of these fights are so damn close, so unpredictable.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, it's exciting.
That night, I actually, 2019 will have to be UFC 241. That's actually my favorite show of 2019.
Yeah.
UFC 241.
Yeah.
WrestleMania is like number 3 for me, but UFC 241.
I don't know, you gotta leave WrestleMania out of this. This is MMA.
UFC 241 was number 1.
We're not talking about wrestling.
But anyways, let's move on.
Yes, let's move on. We're going to jump into professional wrestling really quick.
Speaking of that.
Yes. I know. So we're not talking about that. All right, transitioning to exactly what you just said we were going to talk about. So AEW Revolution was this past Saturday. We don't have enough time to do a full review, and we're not going to. It's kind of old news.
Dive into it
but we're going to be releasing this before Dynamite on Wednesday, so we're not going to extend on it. But what were our takeaways? Our main takeaways from this pay-per-view, the second true pay-per-view of AEW's run on TNT.
I actually loved it. I mean, the only thing I kind of didn't like it was Nyla versus Katie,
which I think everybody
it was slow beat. I mean, they're offbeat in that match itself, and I mean, it wasn't exciting but it will be. It will be. But I'm saying is that overall, it's just that match alone wasn't exciting to get fans up and riled, and but every other match was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Cody
did
MJF
perfect for what it was supposed to do.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Eric?
Man, I can see a guy like MJF continuing this feud and having gimmick matches after this whole thing. And they did tell a great story between those two guys. And I do agree with you, Jesse. The Nyla Rose and Chris Statlander. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing it right.
I just call Katie.
Yeah, Katie, whatever. Okay, I thought that was.
You're right, Chris.
Yeah,
Chris. Yeah.
But the only thing that I kind of wanted more was the match between Jake Hager and Dustin Rhodes to extend a little bit more.
Yeah,
you were excited about that. Right?
Yeah, I was excited for that match, but I felt like it could have been a little bit longer. It felt too short. So I actually want this feud to extend, just like the one with MJF and Cody. And that's something that I can probably take away from that, besides the main event.
You know what's surprising? Seeing Stephen Amell in the very beginning of MJF and Cody's match.
Well, he fought. He was at All In.
He was at All In.
He wrestled at All In. I believe he wrestled at WrestleMania.
It was up against.
too, right?
He wrestled against Christopher Daniels at All In. I remember that.
Yeah.
But wasn't he at WrestleMania?
I think he
year?
was.
I think WrestleMania 30.
No,
he
he was
a
a
match.
no, was he?
Maybe SummerSlam.
No, it was a.
It was a
Impact,
pay-per-view.
No, it was an Impact. He was in.
No, well, he might have done Impact, but he definitely was in WWE before he did any of this stuff.
Okay, I could be wrong, but
they disrespect everybody, so eventually everybody leaves. Here my biggest takeaway on this was just the booking on this. I don't think could have been better as far as the winners of each match and the way matches ended. I really thought that you couldn't, as far as a professional wrestling show goes, you don't get much better than this. I've talked about this. You want to show somebody pro wrestling, you're going to show them that kind of show. Mm-hmm. So it really was entertaining. I'm just going to go through it too. Even from the pre-show, Dark Order going over SCU. Obviously, they've been building up Dark Order. Obviously, we know Matt Hardy, lingering free agent. That could be it. Could be Brian Cage. Could be somebody else. But they're leading to the Dark Order being a very big part of Dynamite. So they needed to win. Jake Hager defeating Dustin Rhodes by legitimately with his submission move in MMA.
Yep.
Smart. I did believe that match should have had more domination from Hager. Because Hager, it almost Dustin Rhodes is 50, he's 50.
Yeah.
Jake Hager's supposed to be this professional fighter. He wrestled it more like a pro wrestler, which I thought was a little bit wrong, but the overall ending was fine. Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara couldn't have been better for a 5-minute match. Literally,
it was a cracker.
You can't do any better. Sammy Guevara with the best move of the year with that 630 through the table.
Move of the year, huh?
Move of the year.
Oh my god, dude! It just got me off my feet.
Yeah, and then of course you have Darby Allin, budding star, win the match. Kenny Omega, Adam Page defeat the Young Bucks. Young Bucks kind of, they were forced into this match via storyline, but they really weren't. Technically, I don't think they were true contenders to the championship, but the storyline made sense. This match, I thought went a little bit long and overshadowed some of the other matches on the card, but you had the right winner, and you had the right ending, and you had the right tease at the end. Hangman Page threatening a clothesline, a buckshot clothesline of Kenny Omega, which similar to MJF when I was there at All Out, picking up a chair behind Cody Rhodes.
So
very similar. AEW's booking professional wrestling right. As long as that match was, as much as you want to complain, the ending, the very last thing you saw from it, was perfect. And then, of course, Nyla Rose, Chris Statlander, impossible spot, bunch of botches, but Nyla Rose winning in kind of convincing fashion, that's fine with me. Nyla Rose needs to remain the champion for a while. MJF defeating Cody, we needed to see that. Shenanigans and winning by cheating, perfect.
Makes us even hate him more.
Maybe the best booked match of the entire night, Pac versus Orange Cassidy. They got Orange Cassidy over.
He actually tried.
Everyone loves Orange Cassidy. Except for Jim Cornette. But Pac wins, and Pac destroys him in the end.
And he's actually happy. Jim Cornette's,
And you also continue in the studio. The Lucha Brothers come out and feud with best friends. Well, I'm down for that match. So good on them. And then Jon Moxley versus Chris Jericho. I do think it was time to pass the torch. Doesn't mean we can't have another Moxley-Jericho match. Doesn't mean Jericho needs to leave. But Jon Moxley needed to win this. His speech at the end made sense. And so I thought this pay-per-view was nearly perfect. Almost one of the better shows you could run with this many matches on the card.
You did see that commercial, that promo for this month.
Well, essentially what it is a War Games match.
Yeah, War Games match.
Yeah, and that's going to be in New York, or the New York, New Jersey area, Prudential Center.
New Jersey.
Yeah, it's going to be a pseudo pay. What I would expect is Jericho and Moxley to potentially have another title match, or a rematch there.
Or Cody's team versus MJF's team, kind of like in a way.
Yeah, well, who is MJF's team though? That's the thing. You could have Moxley. You could have Moxley, Darby Allin, Dustin Rhodes, and who else could you have feud? Oh, and then wait, no.
You got the
who else has been feuding with? Why am I forgetting somebody real quick?
It would have to be
Oh, and then you have the Puerto Rican guys.
Santana and Ortiz.
Santana and Ortiz. Maybe it's 5 men in the ring. Maybe you do something like that. Maybe don't have Jake Hager be in because I assume he has a fight coming up soon, right? Maybe you can't put him in a cage match, right? So it's. He could probably do both. You never know.
It depends.
But right now, as you can see in his Instagram pages, he's actually training for a fight. Who knows when's his next fight?
Yeah, no, for sure. But so, we're going to have essentially a War Games match, what they're going to call a Blood and Guts match. It's pseudo pay-per-view. It's a month away, right? So you're going to have a month of build till another pay-per-view, and then 2 months of build till Double or Nothing, which we will be at, by the way. We'll be in and around Las Vegas that whole entire weekend, so shout out to us going. Yeah. But before that, we have Blood and Guts. Look at that. My cat is freaking out outside.
Wow.
Yeah. My dog's gonna probably freak out, so maybe we'll have to stop filming for a second. Yeah. We'll have to pause it real quick. All right. Blood and Guts is the next pay-per-view for AEW. What do we expect from that pay-per-view after what we saw at Revolution?
Oh man.
I don't really know either. That's actually a good thing. I think we're gonna have some inner circle versus someone match.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be the Elite, because the Elite is infighting and Cody is focused solely on MJF. So I do believe it's going to be, like I mentioned, it's going to be a combination of Moxley and Darby Allin, and maybe you have another tag team in there versus Jericho and the Inner Circle, besides maybe Jake Hager.
Well, Dustin's. I'm pretty sure, like, if they want to continue the feud with the Inner Circle, it's going to have to be the guys that they faced at Revolution.
Yeah, well, that's what they still have to figure all that out. But besides that, don't really know. We'll have to just find out on the Dynamite.
There's a lot of possibilities. Like I said before, it's a good time to be either a pro wrestling fan or a fan of MMA, but overall, it's a good time to be a damn fan.
Well, it wasn't 2 days before Revolution, but we're not going to talk about that. We already did talk about that in our last podcast. And WWE doubling down.
February was just a strange month.
With Goldberg versus Roman Reigns.
Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
The, what is it? The Houston judging.
Oh, yeah.
That finish, that strange finish last Saturday.
Yeah.
In the MMA, like it's
a strange month.
Yeah.
Astros.
That was January.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It actually last 3 years.
But overall, it's a strange month of February, and
yeah, no, it's crazy. But I think that's anything else we need to talk about. Really, I don't think so.
I think we covered everything.
Hopefully,
boxing as of now.
But hopefully, Yoel Romero makes weight, because that title fight at that point would become essentially just what happened with the flyweight title fight, where Adesanya is the only, is the only man that can win the title fight, and if Yoel does win, there's no champion.
And Adesanya said it before. I mean, he's got to make weight, and if he doesn't make weight, he's not going to fight him. But who knows?
You said Adesanya said that?
Yeah.
No, I heard him say in an interview with Ariel Helwani today that he said he doesn't care. He's going to fight him anyway, no matter what. Go check out the interview. I'm not. He literally said that today.
I believe you, but I mean, in past tense, he said he's like, I'm not going to fight him.
He'll fight him nonetheless.
But it's crazy from his behalf, calling out a guy that basically lost, but also won. But who the hell judges him?
Who does?
It's crazy.
That's like you challenging Rosenstruck.
Oh crap! No, Figueiredo.
Another one.
Francis Ngannou. No, it's like me challenging Francis Ngannou.
Oh man, that's another one.
And I'm gonna die.
You're going to sleep. You're gonna get Epstein. Whoops.
Oh, basically, Epstein challenge done right.
Yeah.
We've seen Epstein, coronavirus. We talked about Joanna's assets. It was a good podcast.
Yeah, it was awesome.
We just needed Ryan with us, but unfortunately he wasn't here with us.
He was not. Yeah, he was not. He was unable. He was very busy in his personal life, so he was not able to do this. And to be honest, I don't think he would have been able to catch up with some of our analysis. He would have been like, Yoel Romero's winning in 1, or Joanna in 6.
I got
to beat up our guys.
I have to get him caught up with the MMA world.
Yeah.
Yes.
Please do.
You need to send him as many of those
videos,
things on Instagram as you possibly can.
1 minute breakdowns as well.
Yeah,
Rob
exactly. Rob Black's really good. Real quick, they did announce that Cejudo and Aldo was going to happen in Brazil. Nunez, I believe, is going to fight in Brazil as well. When is Nunez fight? They did announce Nunez was going to fight.
No. There's no fight.
No.
It's
And Silva coming back.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, no. Might as well bring King Velasquez back to that point.
Oh, hell no, dude. He's too fucked up right now. sorry for my...
No, exactly. But, so that's it. It's been another UFC show. Good shot. I mean, we got... I have Romero. You guys got Adesanya. We all have Zhang winning her fight as well. So it's going to be exciting.
Overall, we can all agree that it's going to be a great night of fights.
It's going to be a great night.
Can't wait for it.
Go check out some of our past videos, at least the evergreen ones. We've released multiple interviews that still are pretty evergreen. You have the Kat Marino, who's one of NXT's backstage announcers. She's been featured on TV, interviewing Charlotte Flair, interviewing Tegan Knox. We did an interview with her a while ago, back in last year.
Yeah.
I believe it was in May or June. So we just re-uploaded it with more stuff that makes sense to nowadays wrestling. And then we did an interview with Doug Markham, a referee in the Southern Territories. And we did an interview with Alex Zane in an IHOP while I was severely intoxicated, which is great. You'll see me mess up his name in the beginning. And also, I believe the Eric Watson interview also stands pretty far. And we will, watch out for us more content and look out for us at Double or Nothing weekend too.
Yeah, don't be strangers. Say hello and
yes. And next time we have a big fight, we'll be asking you guys for your opinions like we did last time. That was received very, very well.
Yeah, and I'll be doing a stream of Yoel Romero and Adesanya, EA Sports, UFC 3.
Live. Yes, this is big.
I'll be doing it hopefully by Wednesday.
I think, it won't be released until at least probably Thursday morning.
Yeah. Okay.
But so this will be, you're seeing this on Wednesday, more than likely if you're watching it the first day.
Yeah.
If not, if it's Thursday, go check out the stream right now.
Yeah.
It's not that long. Usually Eric either wins early or loses early.
Doesn't matter.
Which is nice. So,
Unless you and me, if you want to.
That would be interesting. Maybe we do that. Maybe we do. Because, you're going to kick my ass.
Well, it just depends, you know.
We never played against it.
That would be really... We could maybe have the first ever actual UFC stream fight where it's not Eric versus the computer, which would be nice.
Right.
We're going to keep ramping it up. We're going to keep ramping it up. But, for this podcast, we are done. Catch those streams. Watch UFC 248. Yeah, of course, subscribe, and comment. We have Twitter. We have Instagram. We even have a Facebook page.
Patreon.
Yeah, Patreon. OnlyFans. Patreon. Of course, we're all down for it. But for Nick Nenad,
Jesse,
this is Eric. Raise a glass in the sky and salute the ring generals.
Jabronis.